If you think you're not very smart, think about this. If you're that stupid, how would you even be able to realize that in the first place? As psychologist David Dunning himself puts it, if you're incompetent, then surely you can't know you're incompetent. The skills you need to produce the right answer are the same skills you need to recognize the right answer. In this video, we're going to explain the occurrence of the dunning-kruger effect and how it leads to people thinking they're far smarter than they really are. Later on in the video, we will also be giving you 5 signs of a stupid person, so you know what to look out for if you ever find yourself in a debate with one. So make sure you stick around till the end, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified of our next uploads. The dunning-kruger effect is a form of cognitive bias described by psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger as a phenomenon in which people genuinely believe they are smarter and more skilled than they really are. While truly competent and smart people of high ability tend to underestimate and downplay their skills and capabilities, the dunning-kruger effect manifests itself in individuals who have little expertise in a specific area, but tend to hugely overestimate their skills by self-assessing themselves as experts. They're also likely to be extremely opinionated and stubborn, pretty much refusing to listen to any counter-arguments or opinions. Let's take an example scenario. You're with all your friends at a dinner party, having a few drinks when someone starts spouting off at length about a particular topic, proclaiming they are correct as a self-proclaimed expert, and everyone who disagrees is stupid. I'm sure you can think of many situations in which you've experienced something like this in real life. They waffle on and on, blissfully unaware of their own ignorance, even though it's totally obvious to everyone listening that this person has absolutely no idea what they're talking about. There have been multiple studies done on the dunning-kruger effect. In one study, participants were asked to rate a series of jokes on how funny they were. Some of the participants had an extremely poor understanding of what others would find funny, and these participants also, funnily enough, described themselves as having an excellent sense of humor. In another experiment, participants were asked if they were familiar with a range of terms related to subjects including politics and physics. But unbeknownst to them, some of the terminology was totally made up. In one of these studies, 90% of respondents claimed they had at least some knowledge of these made-up terms. The findings show, staying consistent with other findings, that the more familiar a participant claims to be with a subject, the more likely they will also claim familiarity with totally meaningless terms. The very trouble with ignorance, Dunning suggests, is that it feels just like expertise. So what causes this psychological effect to wreak havoc on individuals? Is it that some people are just too stupid to know how stupid they are? Firstly, it's important to know that being stupid or of a low IQ is not directly synonymous with the dunning-kruger effect. It's suggested that not only are people incompetent, but their incompetence itself has cruelly deprived the person of the ability to be aware of this fact. Incompetent people tend to not only grossly overestimate their skills and fail to recognize their own mistakes, but they don't recognize genuine skill and expertise of others. Ever heard the expression, "a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing"? Another explanation for this phenomenon is that sometimes having a tiny bit of knowledge on a subject can mistakenly allow a person to think they know everything about it. They have a little bit of an understanding and hey presto, they're suddenly an expert. Have you ever met an armchair historian who constantly believes they're an expert on history just because they watched a few historical documentaries? This effect is also related to problems with metacognition, that is, the ability to step back and look at your behavior and skills objectively, from outside of yourself. If one is unable to do this effectively, they will only have the capacity to perceive and evaluate themselves from their very limited and subjective point of view. So you're probably thinking it's only a small percentage of the population affected by the dunning-kruger effect. No, we all are, in some way at least. Everyone is susceptible to this effect. I mean, we humans are generally pretty bad at self-evaluation, and surprisingly, we probably experience it more often than we realize. A good example of this would be to look at someone who is a genuine expert in one area, but they think their expertise carries over into another area which they are less familiar. Like a brilliant, experienced scientist thinking they're an expert writer, but they only think they're expert because they don't yet have the expert knowledge of writing to know that, well, they're not. So how can one go about ridding themselves of this subconscious affliction? Is there any way someone can suddenly develop or evolve to the point of realizing they don't actually know it all? Dunning and Kruger have suggested that as experience and knowledge with a subject increases, confidence and sometimes arrogance will decrease to reach a more expected level. This is because as one learns more about the topic, their lack of knowledge naturally becomes more obvious to them. Then, as they actually start to reach expert level, their confidence levels will begin to soar again, but this time in a more realistic way. There are several things you can do if you want to logically self-assess your abilities or expertise in a particular area. But isn't this a catch-22? How can you do this if you can't trust your own judgment? Number 1. Don't stop learning. Don't just assume you know it all. Make the effort to keep researching and digging deeper into the topic. The more knowledge you gain, the more you'll recognize how much there still is to learn. This may help you to curb the constant thinking that you're an expert. As they say, you never stop learning, even at expert level. Number 2. Ask a friend. A great strategy that's quite effective, and something that some may feel uncomfortable with initially, is asking others for constructive criticism. Hearing feedback from others in the field you're interested in, people you look up to professionally, or even from people close to you can give you invaluable insights into how others perceive your strengths and abilities. It might be difficult to hear, but it's so worthwhile. Number 3. Question everything you know. As you gain more knowledge and get more feedback, it's easy to fall into the trap of only paying attention to things you think you already know. This is called confirmation bias, which is another type of psychological bias. It's important to be aware of this and to avoid this tendency as much as possible by looking for information that directly challenges your beliefs, expectations, and current knowledge. Now, although the dunning-kruger effect is not directly correlated to being stupid, researchers have found there's no link with lower IQs. It might just be interesting to know some of the common behaviors found in someone with a low intelligence level, just to know if it's worth having a debate with them the next time one pops up. So to help you out, here are 5 habits stupid people have that smart people don't. But before we get into it, if you're enjoying today's video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of these videos. Number 1. Stupid people blame others for their own mistakes. Stupid people avoid taking responsibility for their mistakes. They don't like it at all, much preferring to wallow in self-pity or the other option, playing the blame game. Now, pushing the blame onto someone else is something that a smart person would not tend to do. A person who is always trying to shift the blame for their mistakes onto others just proves that they aren't the sharpest crayon in the box. Number 2. They always have to be right. Obviously, we're not saying intelligent people always think everyone else is right, but they at least have the ability to listen attentively and consider all sides of the argument. Being able to look at and understand things from a different point of view requires an open mind towards new information, a sign of intelligence. In an argument or disagreement, a person with high intelligence will still be able to empathize, for the most part, with the other person, and will attempt to understand the differing opinion, whilst having the ability to reconsider their own. Guess what stupid people do? Yup, here is the dunning-kruger effect in full force. They'll continue arguing their point until they're blue in the face, never budging an inch from their position, regardless of any valid arguments brought against them. Additionally, they won't even notice if their opponent appears to be more competent and intelligent. Number 3. They react to conflict with anger and aggression. Everyone gets angry once in a while, smart or not. It's part of what makes us human. But for those who are less intelligent, anger is the go-to reaction whenever they don't get their way, or if they feel out of control in a situation. Using anger and aggressive behavior makes them feel it's more likely they will get what they want. Number 4. They tend to ignore the feelings of others. You know what also makes us human? Being selfish. Every now and then, it's totally normal, but getting a balance between what we want individually and considering the needs and feelings of others can be more difficult for some. As has been mentioned, smarter people find it much easier to empathize with others and tend to be quite good at it, and this is what gives them the capacity to understand another person's perspective. Those who are of lower ability have a more difficult time understanding that people could possibly think differently to them and therefore disagree. They also struggle to understand the concept of doing something nice for someone without expecting a favor in return. Number 5. They think they're better than everyone else. The ability to cooperate has been a significant part of human development, which means that a huge signifier of intelligence is being good at working with others. Whereas intelligent people with a healthy level of confidence and sense of competence will try to help and motivate others, those with a lower intelligence level tend to judge others and badmouth them or put them down. This is because of the belief that they are above everyone else and are quick to judge. A Canadian study found that people with a lower IQ tend to be more homophobic, racist, and in favor of harsh punishments. Prejudice is not a sign of intelligence, but for most of us, that's probably not a surprise. So there we have it. We hope you've enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to head over to our main channel to check out more interesting videos like this one.